Hi, Purple Finch students. Hello, and how are you? I hope you are all doing great and having a fantastic day. Today we are going to continue our lesson on Africa. We learned that Africa is the second largest continent in the world that is made up of so many different countries, cultures, religions, and languages. Today we're going to talk about something that's very special that can only be found in Africa, and that is the desert. The desert on the biomes map is the orange piece. Remember, a biomes map doesn't tell you the countries, it tells you the different biomes that are on this land. And if you can see, the Sahara Desert stretches all across the northern part of Africa. Let's find out a little bit more about the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert is the largest hot desert in the world. It is made up of a lot of sand and sand dunes. The Sahara Desert has a surface area of 3 million square miles. That also included another desert called the Libyan Desert. The size of the Sahara Desert is very large as it stretches from one side of the continent to the other. The Sahara Desert is the largest hot desert and the third largest, the Sahara Desert is very hot. Temperatures can reach 136 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very hot. The hottest it gets here in Northern Virginia, sometimes it's 100, 101, but in the desert, in the Sahara Desert, temperatures can reach up to 136 degrees. The Sahara Desert covers a significant amount of land. It includes 11 countries. The Sahara Desert covers 11 countries all across the continent. Some of those countries are, here we have their flags: Egypt, we have Libya, we have Morocco, we have a country named Chad, Algeria, Mali, Niger, and Sudan. If the Sahara Desert was a country, it would be the 5th largest country in the world. Now, does it rain a lot in the desert? No, it doesn't. And in the Sahara Desert is no different. Actually, the Sahara Desert only gets 2 inches of rain a year. It gets less than 3 inches of rain a year. That's enough to maybe even fill up this cup. So it doesn't get too much rain. The total rainfall is up to 3 inches a year, and there are different regions of the desert that never see rain. But which makes it a very difficult place for animals and plants to live. Animals and plants, they need water and sunlight. But the Sahara Desert doesn't get a lot of water. It definitely gets a lot of sunlight, but not as much water. But despite these difficult conditions, the Sahara Desert is the home to a number of plants and animals. It's estimated that over 500 species of plants live in the desert, and about 70 different species of animals live there. There are over 1,000 species of trees that live in the Sahara. These are typically located close to an oasis. And an oasis is a place in the desert that has some trees and water. I will show you some of the animals that live in the Sahara Desert. So the Sahara Desert is home to some plants and animals. But these plants and animals they need to be able to live in these hot conditions. So we're going to move some of our African flags to the side. Some of our flags from Africa to the side. And we're going to look at some of these animals. Fennec desert fox is a canine mammal species. It's the smallest fox in the world. And it only weighs 2.5 pounds. These foxes are nocturnal. That means they're only awake at night, or else it would be too hot for this fox to be out during the day. Because remember, temperatures can go up to 135 degrees. So these foxes are nocturnal. They avoid the daytime heat of the desert environment. They have bat-like ears that radiate body heat and to help them keep cool. Something neat about these foxes is that they can jump up to 2 feet in the air from standing position. And they like to keep cool under burrows in the sand. So this is an animal that lives in the desert. We're going to see what other animals live in the desert. There are also insects and snakes that live in the desert. I know you know this animal. This animal is called a camel. Camels store a large amount of fat in their humps on the top of their backs. No, not water. That's a myth. Fat can be burned for energy when a camel is unable to locate any food. While most of us search for ways to burn off fat and slim our bodies, camels are actually evolved by nature to carry extra fat around to survive. So, and camels are really good animals too. Camels live in the desert, and they can actually hold a lot of water in their body so they don't get so thirsty so quickly. And they store fat in their humps. Fat is used for energy. Now, not a lot of plants can grow in the desert, but here are some plants that do. This is called an acacia tree. It's in the Sahara Desert. These plants are extremely useful for desert dwellers and are used for food, firewood, and tannin. Now, if you're wondering what kind of fruits and vegetables grow in the desert, there aren't that many, but there is a vegetable that grows in the desert that's known as a wild gourd or a bitter cucumber. The desert gourd also grows in the Sahara Desert. Although this plant appears to be like a common watermelon vine, it bears fruits that are bitter, small, and hard. The bitter fruit can be poisonous if consumed. The plant and its parts are also used for the preparation of traditional medicines. So this is a gourd, kind of like a pumpkin or a squash, but it's actually a bitter fruit. So those are some animals and some things that grow in the Sahara Desert. Now, you know what else makes the Sahara Desert very, very unique? I'm going to show you a picture of something very, very neat. Let's do that next. So the Sahara Desert isn't all the way dry. There is water in the Sahara Desert. It just doesn't rain a lot. And a lot of the water actually comes from two major places. One is called the Nile River. The Nile River provides water source throughout the desert. It starts in Chad. Lake Chad is located right over here at the eastern part of Africa. It is one of the biggest lakes in Africa. A lot of animals that need to get water and people that live around that area would usually go to these two resources to get their water, as it doesn't get a lot of rain in those areas. Also, did you know that the word Sahara is Arabic for desert? Arabic is the most common language that is spoken in the Sahara region. Let's see what else we can find out about the Sahara Desert. Something that happens that's really interesting is called sandstorms. When you think of a storm, you think of thunder and rain and lightning. Well, in the Sahara, it's very common to have sandstorms. And a sandstorm is when a high amount of wind occurs in sandy areas. And then what usually happens is the wind will speed up and will lift a layer of sand in the air, causing it to push in all sorts of directions. So this is a sandstorm. And if you are ever caught in a sandstorm, you will know that it is so difficult to see because sand will cover everything. So imagine a rainstorm or a snowstorm, but with sand. Would you like to be caught in a sandstorm? I don't think so. But it would be interesting to see, when do you ever see this amount of sand in the sky like this? It's very, very unique. Something else that happens in the Now, we know that the Sahara Desert is very hot and does not get a lot of rain. A lot of the animals that do live in the Sahara Desert are used to living in this hot, dry weather. And the plants that live here too are used to getting little water. But the desert is actually not always hot. During the months of December and February, the temperatures can drop significantly. That means it can get very cold during the nighttime. Some sand dunes can even be spotted covered in snow. That's because when it gets really cold, snow falls. Something else that's really special about the desert is that it's home to the pyramids of Giza. Now, the pyramids are very large structures that were man-made and that are in Giza. And we're going to learn a little bit more about the pyramids in our next video. I hope you had fun learning about the desert of Africa and all of the amazing animals, and some of the amazing animals that live there. The desert is a very hot place, but we learned that animals can actually live there. Something else that's very special about the deserts in Africa is that it's home to the pyramids of Giza. The pyramids of Giza are these large structures that were made thousands of years ago. And there's something that's very special inside the pyramids. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later in our next video. Today we talked about the desert in Africa. We learned that it is a very hot place that gets a little bit of rain every year. And a lot of the places in the desert barely get any rain at all. Good thing there's the Nile River and Chad Lake. That are good resources for water for animals and the people that live in that area. We also learned about some of the animals that live in the desert, some plants that grow in the desert. And we also talked about how sometimes even snow sometimes you can even find snow that cover the sand dunes because the weather can drop in certain months of the year. I hope you enjoyed your lesson on the Sahara Desert. Please check out the activities that we have for the Sahara Desert. We're going to talk about the pyramids next. Hope you have a great day. Bye.